Ed and I showed you how to set sticks, get up this tree, set your platform, kind of what we do to get set up, okay? And you guys have heard me say it a few times that I one stick climb. So I'm going to show you what that is. Of course, I'm going to do just a couple climbs, but you're going to get what I'm doing. But first, what I want to show you is a couple things that you may not think about before you go up there, okay? So I take my gear strap and I put it in my pocket, and you'll see in the climb why. Because that's the first thing when I get up there in one sticking that I want to access, because I don't actually carry my pack up the tree, okay? So I just kind of stick it in a pocket pretty close. What I would do, get to the tree, throw everything off. Well, let me show you a couple more things. So you're going to need, this is the most important rope you're going to need. Dynaglide paracord works. It's not as strong, so if you get it stuck. And what this is for is to be able to pull your rappel rope back out of the tree. Because when you one stick, you don't come back down the ladder. You need to rappel out as far as safety in the best way, and it's fun. So you've got to make sure you have your pull down rope, and that's what this is. So not to get confused with my gear hoist or my bow rope, whatever you want to call that. So that'll live in my pouch until later. I just wanted to show that to you. Okay, next thing is you want to have what's called a belay device. So this is the Gree Plus. What this is going to do essentially is hook me to the rope. Okay, it opens, it shows you which way the rope goes. You're going to be able to hang from this. This is what a belay device is. Rappel handle right here. Rappel means to come down, right? Descend from the tree. This one actually has an anti-panic feature, so if the rope is wet and you start slipping real fast, it'll grab and it won't let you crank the handle too hard, or maybe you just pull it too fast, it won't let you fall as easy. And then with my belay, I've got a special carabiner that I just like. It's also a Petzl brand. It's got this little rolly wheel in here. It's a Petzl Z clip, and that keeps me having to twist into my bridge. It just kind of smoothly goes. That also being said, until you're used to it, I wouldn't twist your hips real fast. You're going to be flipped over sideways real quick. So just that's what I do for our setup. So that is got to be kept out, okay? So I'll just throw it on my bridge when I get to the tree. This is exactly what I'm going to do. He's going to show you everything I do. So I'm going to toss my pack down. And this is my one stick. Now it has what's called a cam cleat, so you can just put it in here, and the harder you push down or the more pressure you put on it, the tighter it squeezes this amsteel, which is this rope. My platform's actually built into the top of this stick, and then there's a handle that deploys so I can make my next move, which I'll show you in a second. Now that that's unwound, right here in what's called my pack and play is an aider. I've got a little two-step aider. What that's going to do is pop out. It's going to give me 2 extra steps, because in one sticking what you do is put this stick on the tree, you climb up, and then you move the stick. Instead of adding sticks, you just move this to the next spot. And I'll show you how I'm going to do it. So right against the tree, and you see this stick is about the bottom, or sometimes if you got a 3-step aider, you can start 6-7 feet high to begin with, and that's a pretty good move for the first move. And then obviously you're going to bring it around, put it right there in this cam cleat. Same kind of thing, just make sure it's in there. You're going to let these standoffs, the sharp teeth, bite into the tree. You're going to be able to go up. That's on the tree. When I get there, the next thing I'm going to do is grab my rope. This is a little different. Where we used the tether in the last one, I've got 40 foot of rope here. So I'll just kind of check it, make sure it's not all knotted up. Just run through it real quick. And you'll have this set in such a way when you get to the woods, you'll know you already have this checked. You'll have things done that I'm just kind of step by step showing you. Now I'm going to take the end of this rope here and I'm going to tie it to my bag. So even at 40 feet with this tied, I'm not going to get to a point where it gets tied to my pack and tries to drag me back down. And that's why I got 40 feet. So I put that right there in my side because I'll be hooking this to the tree rather sooner than later. Same exact way, like I said in the last video, Ed showed you as well. You use your linemen to keep you feeling a little safer, closer to the tree, and able to work. So around the tree I go with the linemen, hook back in. Now be mindful that I left my belay here. This is so I can hook in a minute. I'll give myself a little bit of measure on the bridge. Try to watch your step when you're going up. You don't want to get your foot in the rope or let this get hung. So I like to kind of just tuck this out of the way if I can. A lot of times through one of these loops. And if it'll stay, that's good for my first move. Now try to get the middle of my foot in these loops, because if you don't, they could swing you off. And you want to make sure to plant your toe into this tree. That way you can put pressure down and into the tree, and then ride your linemen as well. Now that I've made it to the top of my stick, I'm going to pull this back out. Make sure I can get to my belay. Lineman's tightened up to the tree. Now I'm going to access my rappel rope, which I hung from this loop a minute ago. So in one stick climbing, this is your important rope. Also, I run a quick link here, so you don't have to run the rope back through itself all 40 feet. So you just undo that around the tree just as you would a tether, and you're able to lay that rope right in that quick link. Make that a little bit easier for you. Also a keeper, and then there you are. Your rope's in. Now you're going to hook in. Check your arrows, make sure the rope is going the correct direction, okay? It lays directly in that belay as the arrow says for up and down. Close the flap, put the carabiner in your bridge, and then you want this to go through the belay. So now I'm hooked to the belay. You're able to pick this up, and you'll see it cam over, and that locks you in, keeps you from going anywhere, and lets you hang from it freely. See, move places, because I want to show you what I personally do. You don't have to do this, but I recommend doing it because it's your life, okay? You can see I can grab this and kind of pull this down without pulling this rappel. If it don't have pressure on it, it won't cam over and hold you. So you would literally have to slip for it to grab. So what I do, or what I recommend to do, and of course we have these continuous loops right here, we'll just tie ourselves a friction hitch, Prusik, whatever you want to call it. But basically it's just safe. So just like you would on your tether or your lifeline or whatever, you see I've tied that Prusik knot. I put that there through the Prusik, and then I just hook this carabiner here. Now, if I was to fall, if this don't catch me, this will. This is a safety knot. And then whenever you start to rappel, you can pull this down, pull this down, pull this down, pull this down, because when you're 20, 25 feet up, It's a little unnerving to know you're just coming out of the tree backwards by pulling a lever. Alright, so you was on the opposite side. You seen me tie my backup knot on my rappel rope. Now I'm going to show you what I do as far as moving the stick. I've tried this a couple different ways. This is what works for me. Some people go off to the side. Some people just put their knee in the tree. Some people move it up under them. But this is what I've found out is the least amount of noise for me. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up to this tree first. You know, I'm close. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to kind of go up on my tippy toes and then let that down. And you're going to see that's going to cam over, so it's going to grab me, so I know that this rope is holding me. So I'm going to let this lineman's out slow to make sure that I'm sitting in this saddle and I'm hooked up right here. Check my safety knot. I'm going to move it up, so if something happens, this is going to catch. So everything's hooked in real tight right here. I know that's holding me. So the next thing I do is take the lineman's off. So be mindful of this lineman's. If you got a pouch, it's a little bit easier. You know, you can dump it in, whatever, before you make the move. Also, while thinking of it, and something I forgot, is with my pack hooked up, I have this here. This would be hooked to my weapon, and that's why I have it separated, because I one stick climb. If something were to come in, I'm able to leave my pack down there, but bring my weapon to me. So, that'll be there. Now what I want to do essentially is get this stick moved up higher. So you got to use your rappel, you got to use your safety hitch. And I like to go down until I get almost to a seated position. And that's pretty far down. And again, I've got the knee pads on because I one stick climb. But this is my next move. So I like to straddle the tree so I can pick this up right here by the handle. Right? Reach through, grab it, pop it loose, pull everything out, put my knees in the tree, and this rope will actually hold this stick in place. There's a notch. Check the standoffs to make sure I'm able to get to it. Look and see where this is at. I've done this a few times to see I'll make this step. And then I'll swing back to the tree, my legs around, back up here, right through the cam cleat, sit it down, and then I'm able to go on up. That being said, if I get to hunting height, I'll tie a knot here, and then I'll wrap it around itself a few times just for safety, okay? So I like to step in it first, get there. And I'm gonna move this up when I make that first step. Boom, boom. And you can see I'm back hanging from this. At this point, I'll put my lineman's back on. It's better not to advance this tether until you're up a little bit higher. That way if something happens. As you see, my tether is now lower. Now I'll move it up. Of course, guys, I'm showing you how I actually climb. Not, it may not be the safest, it may not be up to standard or up to rules or whatever, but I'm showing you real life scenario, real life what I do, no BS. So, I've got this a little higher, I'm gonna go on up, and I would do the same thing essentially. As I would get here, bring everything up, now when you're hanging from a belay device, you will hang a little bit different as far as height where you want the tether, I've noticed. Some people swap this out so they don't need it up here for a conduct, which is also an ascender that just holds you in place, or just back to the Prusik knot. And again, I'm hanging from this. Start letting this lineman's out just a little. Get some pressure on it. Get some pressure on it. Let it out. Pressure. And then I'm hanging. I would repeat the same process maybe one more time, and I'll be about 17, 18 feet up. And if I wanted to get real nuts, then I could go on up to 24 better with just 3 moves of this stick. I'm going to let this out. Move my backup knot higher so it will be able to grab if something were to happen. Get this lineman's out of the way. And at this point, whether I'm filming or whatever we're doing for that day, is what I set up next. This is why I keep this in this pocket. So I put this up very first. And that would give me a bunch of molly loops here, a bunch of molly loops here. But you do notice my bow holder would be on the wrong side, so it's not a big deal. You can just move this thing around. You know, if you don't care about the tail of your molly loops being over here, but I'll hang my phone or my walkie-talkie from it so I can get this stuff a little quicker. But that's where that would be, okay? So we're at hunting height, we say. You could pull your weapon up, or you could pull your pack up to you, depending on, you know, if you've got plenty of time or whatnot you got going on. But this is just what I typically do. I would bring my pack up next. It's still hooked to the rappel rope, that way if something happens, I drop it, I can still pull it back up. So if I've got film equipment, I'll hook it right here in front of me, take the film and stuff off, start putting it on the tree before I move it. But I've got this giant carabiner on this pack, and I'll typically take it, put it in one of these loops, hook it to the tree, just kind of like Ed showed you. Use the kidney or the waist belt, whatever you want to call it, and hook it there, because I've got a dump pouch, again, like him, for convenience for what I need to get to. Then I would roll all this rope up, and you see I've got it kind of around me, which is no big deal because we're still hooked in. I bring it up and I'll hook it right back to the top of the pack where I started at with it. And then here we are. I would make adjustments to my bridge. I would make adjustments here where I got it comfortable. This would be in a pouch or knotted up, not hanging down from me. And I would be ready to hunt once I pull my weapon up or got my film equipment up or whatever. But that's pretty much how you one stick. It takes a lot of practice. It takes your own method. It's a little physical versus just setting sticks. But either you're getting the physical aspect of carrying 4 sticks in, which there are some lighter ones out that's pretty comparative to my one, but I just like to do the one stick climbing, just the whole process of it. It's just kind of fun, and rappelling out obviously is the best part. That being said, remember a minute ago I said the most important thing was this drop down rope. Taking it out now. What I'll do with this drop down rope is drop it down whenever I'm done hunting. Now I have this little tether keeper up here high, and I hook to it, which it'll hold my tether up high, but it'll also be locked in behind the knot. When I get down, I'm going to pull this rope, and essentially it's going to bring my rope down. So this is what I would do as far as that. Untie my pack so the end of my rope is loose. If you want to know why I tie my pack up, yes, I've dropped it out of the tree. Then you've got 40 foot of rope, so you're not going to end this rope at any point. Pop this loose, take this off, and you can put the pack on, or same way it got up here. And this really depends on if I carry film equipment or which way I do this, just because film equipment's heavy, and I don't like heavy stuff on my back when I'm trying to come down. Tie it back up, because again, your weapon has a whole different hoist, so it makes this easy to let this pack down. It's out of the way. Gear strap right back in my pocket. Again, that's out of the way. Pull this handle lightly when you're first learning. Do not climb high when you're first learning, or you're going to scare yourself with this. You want to pull this knot down, pull this handle a little bit. Pull this knot down, pull this handle a little bit as you're learning. And if you get at an angle from a tree, it's going to be a little harder. If you get a little closer, it's going to sit down a little easier. So what I like to do is just walk down the stick for the first part. Get right here at the stick, swing up here, and bust it loose. Pull everything off. Hook it to my side on a carabiner. Then I have my stick. Drop down rope is still there. That's what's important. Then all we're going to do is rappel out of the tree. And you know, that's the fun part of it, okay? Then I'm just going to unhook everything, you know, and get ready to put everything up. Put it back in my pack neatly so it'll pack in and out easy. Just unhook this knot. You're going to unhook the belay. Pull this stuff apart real quick. Boom. And then of course you're going to see that this orange rope right here, and watch it up there, and you're going to see what it does. It pops off the keeper, and you see now it's unhooked. Then you're going to pull it, and it's going to pull the rope through itself, and down it went to the bottom of the tree. And that's the good thing about these quick links. You're just going to unscrew them, everything's unhooked, and that's your one stick climb.